Alright, it's been about 10-15 minutes and now look at her roaring. That's a nice fire going there. And it's really warm in here.
Keep on rocking in the
Free world.
Keep on rocking in the free world.
Good morning. What a nice morning. Well, it's a nice warm day at the beach, but last night it was getting a little chilly. It's that time of year, so I am cleaning out my little cubic mini wood stove, which you've all been waiting for me to show off. So let's clean it out and talk about it a little bit. Now you see I've put a little bit of use into it, and you can see that the glass gets blacked over a little bit, which is common with all wood stoves. It happened with the Kimberley as well. You can either burn it really hot so it burns off the glass, or you can just take a little bit of the ash, actually the ash from inside, and just use your fingers. It's going to be kind of hard to hold my camera here. Literally, you just rub the ash with your fingers, and look at that, it takes it right off. And then you just wash your hands. Okay, this is the Cubic Mini Cub wood stove. And I've had this since the end of last winter, basically, when I got it installed, and then I didn't get to use it much because it was a really, really hot summer. And now at nighttime, it's getting a little bit chilly, like to the point where it's nice to use it, but I don't need to use it full time yet. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to just chat about it a bit, because I love it. And a lot of you who've been following my channel for a few years know that I had a different wood stove in my previous RV, which was the Kimberley wood stove. And one of the most common questions, of course, that I get is, which is better? You know, they want me to do a comparison and all this. And it's really tough, guys, to do comparisons on two completely different products. When they're probably not even the same target market. It's like saying, okay, Justin, here is two vehicles. One of them is a Lamborghini sports car. The other one is a lifted quad cab diesel pickup truck. Okay, they both serve the same purpose to go from A to B. They're both amazing in their own way, but they both have their own pros and cons. And they're not going to be for everyone. A Lamborghini driver is probably not going to be the same demographics as the big badass pickup driver. Even if they both cost $100,000 and they're both very high-end vehicles, they're completely different. And that's exactly the way it is with these wood stoves. All right, so this compared to, say, the Kimberley. First off, obviously the size. The Cubic Mini Cub is much smaller. They do have another model, which the company did reach out and ask me if I wanted that one instead, and that was the Cubic Mini Grizzly wood stove, which is slightly bigger than this. But I opted for the smallest possible one because, well, my Class B is a very small RV. So I even a few inches of extra space all around could make a difference depending on where I want to install it. Now, this may not be the final resting place for this wood stove, but I wanted to get it in real quick last year once I received it. So the easiest way to do it with this, because it's so compact, is to mount it on the wall. And of course, this is the optional wall mount kit that you can order with it. So you can literally stick it on any wall, even right above your bed, and it's all good. And just ran it straight up, and just got myself a standard, I don't know if you can see it through my roof vent. There it is. That's just a standard a 3-inch marine roof cap, which you can buy at marine stores or from Dickinson Marine right here in Vancouver. I just called a few marine stores and to see if anybody had one in stock, and sure enough, I got this one from a local store. They just happened to have one kicking around. It was used, so I got a good deal on it and just stuck it on my roof. And it only took about an hour to install everything. So as you see, I did put this false wall up across from my fridge there to extend it out. So it's basically about the width of my bed now behind the pillow there. This is probably not going to be its final resting place. You guys will see where I'm going to put it permanently. But the point is, you can mount it on a wall. You could mount it on the floor. You could just mount it onto a countertop if you wanted. It's very adaptable, and that's something you couldn't do with the Kimberley wood stove. It's much bigger, and it needed a proper floor mount, and you had to build a nice hearth around it and everything. Whereas this, look at this. It's got a little pull-out tray right there. Like, how cool is that? So you just pull that out when you're cleaning it, or when you're working on anything there, so you don't have any ashes falling on your bed and making a mess or anything like that. I've seen quite a few people make their own slide-out drawers underneath these as well, and a lot of people don't even have that at all because they have it, you know, mounted onto a countertop or something. But the point is here, it's much smaller, but that can be either a negative or it can be a positive. It depends on your situation. Maybe you don't have room for the Kimberley, and I don't have room for the Kimberley in this van, so that's why I wanted something else. Maybe you prefer the style of this. It's got the more traditional wood stove style, which, I mean, I think they're both sexy in their own right. So some people like the cylindrical look of the Kimberley wood stove. The Kimberley wood stove, you can, of course, it'll burn longer because it's bigger. Of course it's going to burn longer. And it's got a bigger cooking surface on top. Now this you can cook on, and this rail actually detaches, and you can stick some small pots and pans up there. The other day, actually, I ran out of propane. I'm not kidding. About 2 in the morning, the first time I ever ran out of propane. Normally I keep on top of that. So I fired this up for heat and made myself a nice pot of pasta on top. I didn't even take the rail off. I just stuck the pot right on top of there, just leaning into it. And I boiled some water and made some pasta. So it's really nice to have that off-grid ability. And yes, you can do that with this stove too. All in all, it's just been a fantastic little device. And it doesn't require, if you remember my old motorhome, I had to rip out the entire sofa bed just to make room to put the Kimberley wood stove in. Now, I don't regret that at all because it worked absolutely perfectly for that RV. But for this RV, this makes much more sense. It does burn for a good couple of hours, plus you'll have hot coals long after that if you pack it right and burn everything right. One thing I do like about this as a pro compared to the Kimberley is that it's more of a regular wood stove. All right, you just open it up, throw your kindling in, throw your wood in, light it on fire, close the door. You can control the airflow right there as well. And it works, whereas the Kimberley was a little more finicky. You had to do everything kind of in a unique way just for the Kimberley stove. Trial and error. You learn how to get it going properly and how to keep it running properly. It's not a knock at all on the Kimberley wood stove. It's just that this is much simpler. This doesn't take in oxygen from outside, which is an option on the Kimberley, although I believe there's an option for that as well on this. But from everyone that I talked to, they said it's not recommended. You don't even need that. In a small space like this, you can run this. You're not going to die. You'd be stupid not to have a little window or a little roof vent, you know, cracked open a little bit, no matter what you're doing, even if you're just burning candles in your van. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Just always keep something open a crack, which is what I do anyways, because you want to have some airflow, whether it's summer or winter. You always have something open a little bit. And it keeps the place so warm. You guys have no idea. It's about halfway up the wall from my bed here, and when I'm lying in bed at night and all you see is the flame, and you hear the crackling of the wood in there, and you're snug as a bug on the bed here, it is the best feeling in the world, and nobody outside has any idea. Just like the Kimberley, and just like most wood stoves these days, after it heats up 10-15 minutes or so and it's going, you got a nice fire going, there's no smoke outside. You can't tell it's running, but it warms the whole place up right to the floor. In a small space like this, it really doesn't matter where you put it, whether it's down low, up high, on the wall, doesn't really matter. It's gonna heat up your whole place. I have no regrets for choosing this for this RV. And again, it's like comparing that big pickup truck to the sports car. They both do the same thing when it comes to, say, burning wood, just like the two vehicles do the same thing to get you from A to B. But they do it differently. So I can't really say one's better than the other. All finances aside, this is a lot cheaper. For this entire setup, you're looking at well under $1,000, whereas the Kimberley will be somewhere around $5,000. But again, the Kimberley I would say is more of a survival off-grid for, like, you know, a larger vehicle than this, or a big boat or something. But then again, people manage just fine with this as well. You just got to reload the wood a little more than the Kimberley. So you see what I'm saying? It's very hard to say one's better than the other, because I don't believe one is better than the other. They're both absolutely freaking awesome. And for a camper the size of this, and if you don't have room to rip out your furniture and put a big Kimberley in, or you don't have the money, or you just prefer the size and the style of the Cubic, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong for the price. And just the other day, when I ran out of propane, man, was I ever thankful that I had this little guy in here. So yeah, it's fantastic. So why don't we fire it up and play with it a bit here, and I'll just show you how it looks. Alright, it's a bit later now. It's a bit chillier outside, to the point where I would just want to wear a jacket or put a hoodie on or something. So I would say that's cool enough to fire up the wood stove. So as you can see, I just have a couple little blocks of wood in there. Now, I don't actually have any kindling right now. Normally I have lots of kindling around, but because it's not quite cold enough to start stocking up on that stuff, I just don't have any. So what I do have is, I have a box of just chunks of wood and stuff from behind my work. Actually, I just grabbed it all. It was just, they were building shelves in there and had a bunch of leftover little pieces, so I grabbed a saw and just cut them all so they'd fit. And some little pieces to use for kindling. And I just use standard fire starter. I really don't think I need to go on about how to light a damn fire. I think that's common knowledge since the beginning of time, so I'll skip that part. So as you can see when I stand back there, I mean, really how small it actually is. Now, you may be asking why I'm going to move it, because it works pretty well where it is. Because this is not actually where I originally was going to have it, because I wanted to have my head on that end of the bed to watch TV at this end of the RV. But I didn't have the TV up front, if you guys remember. I had the TV actually mounted to this wall right here. So that's because I had a lot of work to do to move it up front. So I took the TV off this wall, patched up the hole that was in the wall, and painted it over. And then made these cabinets, the cabinet doors, smaller. So as you can see, all the ones in the front there, they're all shortened. They used to be down to the same level as these ones. But I wanted to put the speakers in and the TV up front, so had to get all that redone, and then I painted them all, and it works out perfect. So now when I lie back in bed to watch TV up front, it makes sense left and right for the sound, watching TV, and it's just more comfortable, and the TV is kind of where it should be, in my opinion. So it's a little difficult back here now, because when you're sitting in bed to watch TV, you have to be on that side, unless you want your head under that. I mean, which is fine if you're lying down in bed, but it's just kind of weird having something right above your head. It's fine when you're sleeping the other way and your feet are up there. In fact, it's super cozy. So anyways, for now it's on the wall. You guys will see what I'm going to do to relocate it, which means I'm going to have to patch the hole in the roof and cut a new hole for the chimney, but that's not a big deal. So what I do is, just like any other fire, is I'll let that burn down so there's a little bit of hot coals. And the reason I do that before I put the actual wood on is because tonight I'm going to use, instead of using just blocks of wood, I'm going to use, of course, the Presto logs, which is the same thing I used with the Kimberley. They're only about $1 a log. They're great. They burn so long. They're wax free, they're not going to hurt anything, and they're just compressed sawdust logs, right? So I found a couple suppliers in Vancouver that sell them. You just walk in and buy them right off the shelf. So I usually just go in and stock up and fill my drawer, just one of my kitchen drawers full of these logs, and it'll last for weeks. So it's great. I actually have a storage on the outside of the RV where I had these from last winter, so I had a couple left over, so that's what we're going to use tonight. So one of the other big pros to this, in my opinion, is that, of course, it is Canadian made. It is made in Canada. The Kimberley stove is made in the USA and Oregon. At least they're both North American, so I'd support either of them. But as you know, and I've said before on this channel, this entire van I am going to make as much Canadian as possible. My solar panels are Canadian. All the lighting that I bought for this, anytime I could, I bought Canadian. Even if I have to buy products that aren't Canadian, I try to buy them through Canadian suppliers to try to buy local anytime I can. So it's nice to know that this van, the Ram vans, were made in Canada, so they're a Canadian van. And then the RV manufacturer, Islander RV, is also based in Canada. This motorhome was actually built right here in a suburb of Vancouver. So the entire vehicle platform, including the aftermarket portion, is Canadian. So I'm trying to keep everything as Canuck as I can. So the fact that the Cubic Mini here is a Quebec company right here in Canada, it's pretty awesome to be able to support them. Now, I also got this little tool kit. This is pretty cool. It's actually a little scooper there to clean out the ashes once in a while. Of course, your little mini poker. Everything's made for the size of this. And there you go, look at that. And it's actually got a wall mount to put all this stuff on the wall. And I haven't done it yet, and the only reason I haven't done it is because this is not the final resting place for the stove. So I'm always going to keep those and mount them to where the stove is going to go. Okay, so that actually should be good enough. So at this point, I will probably just knock down those pieces so they're like flat enough so that I can just throw the Presto log on top. In order for the Presto logs to work properly, you really need some hot coals or a flame directly underneath them. So pop that in there and let the flames underneath it catch that. And once that's done, and I've got really nice warm heat for a couple of hours. It's fantastic. Now, obviously the BTUs on this are a lot less than the Kimberley, but again, when you're in something this size, you don't need more than this, let's be honest. And I'm on the West Coast. I mean, we rarely go below freezing here. This is more of a luxury than anything else. It's not a necessity. If I was living, say, on the East Coast, or even the middle part of the continent where it goes below freezing and stays below freezing for a sustained amount of times, then of course, I'd be running this all the time, or I might have got the slightly bigger model, or yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not the guy to ask for cold weather survival, but this is great for heading up to the ski hills and snowing outside and keep nice and cozy inside. Make your hot chocolate on it. I mean, what else can you ask for something this size that will fit in a van? Now, a couple of people have asked me how it compares to, say, the propane fireplace, which I had before, the Dickinson. Now, I'll tell you something. Once you go real wood, you'll never go back. I would only go with the propane solution again if I was in something really small where you couldn't even fit this in. But to be honest, I've seen the Cubic mini stove here installed in regular cargo vans, even on the doors of vans. They'll fit almost anywhere. So, given the choice though, obviously being truly off the grid and having this as a source of heat anytime, anywhere, and a way to cook, even if the grid goes down, even if you run out of propane, or you're out in the middle of nowhere. What if you're not even in the city and you run out of propane? Yeah, and then you have to drive somewhere to get propane the next day to a town or something like that. But I mean, even in the city, you run out of propane. You gotta wait till the morning if you can't find a 24-hour station. People can find wood anywhere. Just open your eyes. You'll find wood anywhere. If you want to be real creative, just grab some wood pallets from somewhere. Or, geez, you could even run out and grab branches off trees if you had to. There's always a way to burn something for heat and for cooking. So it's definitely my #1 choice. And the heat is everywhere. It just surrounds I don't have any fan going. You don't need a fan for a place this small. The entire surface of the bed area is nice and warm. The floor is warm. Everything is nice and warm. These are available in all black with the black finish, including the window frame and the rail and the hardware, or with the brass. And I ordered the brass because I already have brass handles on my cabinetry, so I wanted it all to match. I really love the brass look. I always have. I thought it's really classy. This drawer. Of course, if I were to, mount this on the counter, I wouldn't have that bottom piece attached to it. It's super simple to take it apart, and it was really, really easy and quick to install it all and put it together. Drilling the hole in the roof only took a few minutes, and of course I went right to the one place in the ceiling where there's wires. That went to my fantastic fan there, and that's happened to be where they were. Nowhere else in the roof there's wires going through, but there's nothing I could do. It had to go there, so I had to do some work there to patch up the wires and put them around the new hole that I drilled up there. But other than that, it was pretty damn painless. And then just popped the roof cap up on the roof, sealed it up, and I had it running the very same night. So huge thumbs up and thanks to Cubic Mini Wood Stoves for this beautiful little invention. It's just, you can't ask for, oh, look at that. There, my fan's coming on. There's something you got to be careful of. I have it on in. I have it on blowing in, not out. If it was set, the fantastic fans with the thermostat, if it's set on the thermostat and you forget to turn it off, the wood stove is going to, of course, trigger the temperature sensor and your fan is going to turn on. Now, if you have the fan set to suck out, you're going to have a problem. It's going to start sucking out of the wood stove and all the smoke's going to be coming in and filling up your camper. That happened to me once. I'll never make that mistake again. There's just a FYI for you. If you have a fantastic fan, turn it off or have it blowing in, if anything. All right, now, if you want to order one of these, go to Cubic Mini Wood Stove's website, place your order, and put in the promo code JustinTools. So there's a little perk for being my viewer on Just Incredible TV. Thank you for watching, and thank you to Cubic Mini Wood Stoves for the heat. I love it. Keep on rocking in the free world, everyone.
You are watching Just Incredible TV.